Hey guys, what is going on? So kennyS on the CT side of Cobblestone, one of the best AWPers you can watch in this map, one of the best AWPers in general, let's be real. But I'm going to look at some things he does with his teammates on G2, and honestly it's a little bit more simplistic than we might see from other teams, maybe such as Astralis or even FaZe have some more elaborate setups, but they still work, and if you're a solo AWPer, Kenny's a really good AWPer to actually look. So let's start off here where he actually starts playing a support player, and this flash right here, you can see the way this just perfectly pops through the door. It's a great setup for Apex, just have a peek here to see if anything's going on. And the great thing about this is the flash is thrown from where Kenny is. So Apex is about to go down, I'm not going to show you that. But we often see AWPers, they play this door position because they can get anyone coming through. So what happens is the flash goes off, Apex can have his peek. Initially he saw no one, as we saw they were perfectly hiding. He ends up getting quadruple peaked, I guess you'd call that. So he ends up going down. But the great thing about this position is, because where the flash is thrown from, Kenny can readjust and get the opening kill as they come through. And this is just a nice little thing you can throw in. A little bit more safety, I guess, for checking middle, because we know it's quite common for players to want to check middle on these rounds, such as Apex does. If you just throw that one extra flash in, you can help your team out when he checks towards middle, get some information, then you're already in a good spot for an AWPer, as we saw Kenny repositioning. Another great thing about Kenny is he's very good at playing on the fly. This is why I'm saying if you're a solo player, Kenny's a really good player to watch in this scenario. So notice body comes through and clears out middle. So Kenny's reaction is to straight away reposition to a spot where he's much less exposed to middle because he knows it's clear and he can still look towards long. So you can see as soon as this goes off, he's going to happy to reposition and get this kill. And the round's basically over at this point. 3-on-1. Kenny doesn't actually know that the last players are snuck out here towards stables. One thing I didn't know, I might have just been living under a rock, is the fact that you can actually get up on this little ledge here. And you can look down towards long like this. I probably just missed things. I think I probably have seen it before. I've just forgotten. But yeah, if you don't know about that, that's a good angle towards long. But Kenny's going to end up not really no statues here. And he goes down in the end. One thing you notice about these two-man setups that G2 does with Kenny is often the other players are supporting him where he's comfortable in angles that are particularly strong for AWPers, like we saw that door angle when he's going to help out Apex. He's still going to be in a position where it's quite strong for him. It's the same over towards here. He's going to play this very common long angle. We'll see him back off in a second as Apex is going to be the one joining him for a relatively simple but very effective two-man bait and switch setup. I'm going to be firing off these rounds relatively fast, maybe compared to other videos I make a CT Specialist, because they're not too complex and there's not too much to break down. Just good ideas I reckon you guys should know about because you can chuck them into your own game. So right now you'll see Apex with a great trade. You see Kenny does want to come back, but he decides to smoke it off. And Kenny's a very good player at mixing up whether he re-peaks something or not. In this scenario, he obviously decides that Oscar could potentially be trained on the angle, which he was until he got team flashed conveniently. So that's one thing to think about moving forward is Kenny's very good at mixing up when he gets aggressive and re-peaks or when he falls away and just gives up the map control. So let's look at around exactly where that happens, where Kenny does get more aggressive. He's trying to grab information for his team. He's re-peaking stuff very confidently, rather than just falling away and smoking it off like we saw. So you see here, Apex is going to get picked off. Very standard setup here, looking towards danger and the one player through here. So Kenny wants to make sure nothing's happening. So he's very confident peeking this, even though the smoke is there. He thinks someone maybe could have pushed through after that. He's obviously, if anyone walks through danger, he could potentially be open, but there's risks with this game, and normally at this high level of play, players are going to flash off or flash angles before they come in. You see how confident he is trying to get information, and he takes out the first player. Notice as well here, you might think he's going to smoke it off, but he's going to come back here, and that's a very standard trick, but again, you can see he's re-peaking that. So this is where Kenny's become a little bit more confident, it almost seems, but it's just him mixing up his style of play, and then he decides to fall through the smoke. He's not overdoing it, re-peaking, 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 and that's something you won't really see from any high-level player. Now, continuing this round, we'll just fast forward this a little bit because Snatchy just sits there for a while, is after he gets this play, notice that the CTs are in a 3v3. So Kenny, they want some information. Is there just pressure being applied here from shocks by one player, or is Kenny dealing with one player? Where's the bulk of the players right now? Because obviously they're very spread out, as we can see. They're not really sure where to do. Bodies maybe thinking they're coming over this way. So we're going to see Kenny jump up on top of the roof here and get some information if anyone's coming up middle, just allowing an early rotation. So he doesn't see anyone, so he doesn't call any rotation. And he wants to check over here towards long, see what's going on. See, Snatchy's not even looking at the angle. That's a really nice shot. And Body's now heading over this way. Obviously, the fact that Shocks was flashed and there's a smoke come in would have prompted his movement anyway. But you can see Kenny grabbing this information is very important moving in the round forward. If the take hadn't come in at that exact moment from a go, it could be very valuable information for Body to push through here and potentially get a kill a little bit earlier and help out Shocks. Now, unfortunately, there's no frags in this clip, but I just want to talk about some of the angles Kenny takes towards the A site, because some of them are very powerful. First thing to notice, though, is there's a lot of pressure over here towards the B site. So you can see they're going to reposition. The A players, Apex and Kenny, they think might need to be towards B. He wants Apex to come over here and watch this window area. And then he's in a position where he can rotate really quickly if he needs to. and potentially cut off or be in there early for a retake scenario. So let's talk about the angles Kenny takes towards middle. He has this one here from the danger area, and the second one he takes is on top of the hut on the A site, looking down towards middle like so. They're the two angles he primarily likes to take. And notice as soon as he gets spotted out by Nifty, or even if he gets a kill, he does miss the shot in this one, he's straight away through the murder hole. He doesn't want to get stuck in there, because if a Molotov comes through, he could definitely get stuck there and burn alive. Second one is I really like this angle here towards long, just sitting out on the ledge like so. You can get a lot of information this way. If no one's coming out from this particular angle, if you can just relay to Apex, no one long, no one long, no one long. Apex has so many more scenarios or ways he can play for people coming up the ramp area. In this scenario though, we're not just in shocks, is the player who's coming out long, and Kenny really should have hit one of these shots, but he doesn't. But yeah, still good angles you can take towards middle, relatively safe angles, good ones for repositioning as we saw. You're not really stuck out in no man's land, but in this particular scenario, Kenny just misses the shots. Continuing with the nice thin angles that you're not really in much danger from. First thing to notice is rotating into the site, these flashes aren't always a bad idea. They flash nice and high up in the air, and you can blind players like Frost as they're trying to push into the site. Just a great way to delay the players, because obviously you're not going to run all the way up the ramp area if you're full blind. The second thing to note is this angle from Kenny is just a nice one you can throw in every now and then, especially with the AWP. You can see that's a great angle there on towards Get Right. And we can see on the map the angle that Kenny actually has is an angle nice towards here, and you can basically see, obviously we all know it, if you're in a position such as Exist is in this one, often players will peek. We can see there's Get Right just falling to his death right now, but players often peek up in this area, try and use this tree as a bit of cover as they peek up. So that's a great angle for taking any players trying to do that, like Get Right. And obviously, from the position that Kenny's in, it's very hard for anyone to actually cross the site. I mean, I don't really have a good angle. There we go. No one can cross the site from the ramp area without Kenny getting information that someone's crossed or trying to cross. And especially with long control in this scenario, this is an ideal setup. They've got NIP boxed in really well in this scenario. So yeah, just a great angle you can throw in every now and then, and one that's good for a kill if anyone coming up ramp, especially with the AWP. If you're a good AWPer, you can get some very simple B-long plat control. And this is something you've probably seen if you watch one of my older videos of Kenny and Body playing the B side of Cobblestone. But what's going to be is this flash here from Body is a great one, just pops, and no one can really do anything about it. We'll see what pops right up there, doesn't it? It's a great flash for anyone trying to come in the B-long area. You see Jacob gets blind straight away. Kenny takes the nade, but doesn't really matter in this scenario. Falls behind him, and he has great angles out here towards long. And you can see often there's no one here in this scenario, but they'll throw a Molotov towards the left side as well, bounce it off this wall here, so it just bounces across. If you don't know how to do that, it's not very hard. So they'll molly that off, and then very simple B-long control. We can see what this allows from the CT side is 3 players to come all the way here towards A and really lock things down. Eventually, Kenny, after holding for a while, decides there's no one there, and he's just very thorough to checking out the left-hand side. But that's one of my favorite ways, and a very simple way, as I said, similar to all these things from G2. One flash, and you have a lot of B-long control. Obviously, if some kind of rush comes in, but even if that does happen, Kenny can often fall away, and they are usually in a position to deal with that with some kind of backup plan. Now let's talk about something we've all done, which is play around the statue or the chicken coop area with the AWP. It can be very effective, poking onto anyone coming out the long area. So I want to talk about how Kenny plays this. First thing he knows is he's playing from the edge of the smoke. That's just very standard crosshair placement. And that smoke there, looking at the top of the spiky part of the roof, it's a very good smoke to re-smoke it off. None of this rubbish guessing smokes with gaps in the sides. That's a smoke you should really learn if you are some kind of B-plat player. And I'm just going to fuss with this one a little bit. Again, notice Kenny's crosshair placement. It's right on the edge until the smoke comes out, and he misses the first shot. And he repositions straight away. So notice he's straight away out here, because obviously the way the angles work in this game is you've got a tight angle this way. If he falls this way, even if Rez crosses like that, they're kind of moving at the same speed, if you know what I mean. And Kenny's ready to scope back in. He can concentrate on the next angle. Obviously, Rez could have crossed. He doesn't in this scenario. But what I talk about is Kenny's repositioning this one. This is a great bit of repositioning. As soon as this smoke comes in, notice Kenny, he's straight away out here into the chicken coop area. He wants to move. Even though NIP are relatively quick reacting to this, you can see the Molotov has come in from Rez in this one. And it's going to actually Molotov off where Kenny was, but he's repositioned straight away. So he's in a much stronger scenario. And you can see they're not really expecting the player out here. A great swing there once his teammates take out the team. And another very strong angle. I mean, there's not rocket science to what Kenny just did there. Strong angle, AWP, repositioning, and notice how he peeks out as well when his teammate's taking a bit of fire to make sure to trade them or potentially even save their life if he's fast enough. And last, I just want to talk about Kenny things. Great shots, also rotating into the A site. These flashes aren't bad as long as you let your teammates know. You can see Azza's very blind in this scenario. Very good flashes throwing from Kenny. Good double flash to get into position. You'll see he's just running the whole time. He trusts his flashes to blind him and get into a stronger position. And now we're just going to see Kenny do Kenny stuff with some I mean, that's so fast. I don't know how you deal with that. But besides that, guys, thanks for watching. Give me any criticism as usual. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you in the next video.